Good evening, everybody. It's another Wednesday night in downtown Shakopee, and we're here with Beers with Ben.
Do it again. Here we go.
That's Ben,
That's
in case
me.
you're new here, and I'm not Ben, in case you're new here. I'm Sean. So, strange times we live in once again. We sort of started this Beers with Ben project last spring during a shutdown.
During a shutdown.
And
the first shutdown.
The first shutdown, and here we are at shutdown part 2. Right? So, part 2, 2.1, it continues on. And in case you don't turn on a TV or open your phone at all today, the shutdown has been extended now for bars and restaurants to January 11th.
Yes.
And so we'll touch on that a little bit more tonight and what that means for us and hopefully you. But let's dig into some beer stuff first.
Yes.
So I'm actually going to go back in time just a little bit. And for those of you who are not super familiar with the brew hall, we typically, during this time, try to use this wisely. And we've been putting a lot of energy to infusion releases on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
And one particularly popular one was the pineapple Odie McOatface.
Yeah. Partners with Bravas down the street here.
Right.
So that was fun.
We did in fact have Bravas tonight for dinner before we went online here. But I'm just going to refresh my computer, speaking of which. In case you need to pop in with some comments or questions, I can look for that here on the feed. So do that. So yeah, let's pop back to that Odie experience. First of all, Odie McOatface was a relatively new beer here. It's extremely hazy in New England.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about how and why that comes to be.
Well, so it is a beer inspired by some beers that I had on a recent trip out to Montana, where they were doing some really fun stuff with high percentage of oats in the mash, and I love oats in beer, and so seeing the ability to use 40, 50, 60% oat in a beer and make it work. That being kind of interesting in the brewing world, just because it's so gummy, it's so full of protein that it's a difficult grain to use in high percentages, just because it really slows down the ability to extract what we call the wort, the liquid that turns into beer, from the grain. And to kind of talk to some brewers out there, I got some pointers on how increasing extract from that would work. And so I came back and really wanted to play around with this idea of having a high oat content beer. And Odie is kind of the result of that. It is very much in the New England style of brewing. It's high in oat content. It's also kind of fun because it's a beer that we are going to periodically, as we make it, throw a new type of main hop into, so you can kind of see what that hop will do in high proportions. This current one that we've had in the past here has been what's called Sultana. We've also had one called Savro thrown in there, and so every time you see an Odie, definitely check to see what that hop is, because you'll really get a kind of an idea of what it does in terms of flavor and especially aroma.
Speaking of flavor and aroma,
yes.
The reason we threw pineapple in there is because there's typically with some of these hoppy beers kind of a citrusy or sometimes fruity hop aroma and flavor to that. So grabbing some pineapple from down around the corner from Bravas makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, that Sultana hop, that hop that we're kind of spotlighting this time, it very much has kind of a pineapple-y characteristic to it, especially on the nose. And so, we've been partners with, or I should say friends with Bravas ever since they opened up. And they've got a really interesting pineapple bowl meal that they make. And they've approached us in the past with, we've got all this pineapple, wouldn't it be fun to be able to do something together? And this just happened to work perfect for that.
Awesome. And it kind of leads me into a little bit more about working downtown here. We just want to say to all of you watching, Thanks for your support of the Brew Hall, but also to our neighbors here downtown, our local downtown partners, whether it be Bravis or Turtles, O'Brien's and Pablo's, the restaurants downtown here. Keep all of them and us in mind, especially during this time, this holiday season. Your support helps a ton. If you are outside of Shakopee, a great thing to do is order some gift cards from any of the downtown businesses and give them to folks here in Shakopee that will definitely use them.
Absolutely.
Everybody's open for a takeout, so that's a great option. Extending out into the metro, our liquor store partners are helping keep us going here right now.
Very much so, yes.
It's been a busy day of filling liquor store orders around here, which is just what we need.
Yes.
So this is my semi-weekly plea out there to you. If you like our beer and you don't see it at your favorite liquor store, because let's be honest, everybody has a favorite liquor store.
Yes.
If you don't see our beer there, let us or them know, and we'll get in touch and make it happen. I know that's been a success story over the last couple of weeks with a few examples.
I mean, it really is what kept us going that first shutdown, and it's really helped us the second shutdown too. Those relationships.
Yep.
So.
There's a good side to this. We've been able to take advantage of some of these sales and invest in a canning machine down here,
yes,
which has helped speed things up greatly for us. It's a lot less manual labor. I will.
And it never gives you a headache.
Never a problem at all. Machinery. But it's good though. It's good.
Yes.
So we're able to keep up with the demand that you can hopefully help create for us. So keep that in mind. Again, you're watching Beers with Ben. I'm watching the live feed on the laptop sitting in front of me, so if you have any questions or comments about anything we're talking about, or anything beer related that pops in your mind, we'll do our best to answer that. And so yeah, let's move forward. We've been sipping on a nice little glass of beer here.
Yes.
So the title is
So good.
German Chocolate Cake.
Yes.
Russian Imperial Stout.
You missed two superlative. Well,
Keep going, man.
latte.
Latte. So there's a lot going on here.
One superlative.
Even
Yes.
by the title of it. Yes. So
It's an
let's
awful-
start with Russian Imperial Stout.
Yes.
As a broad style. And
Yeah.
We'll drill down.
So Russian Imperial Stout's, very brief history. It is a style that originated out of Tsarist Russia. It was something that the British monarchy government would brew and send to Tsarist Russia. It was a style of beer, big, heavy, dark beers that sold really well there. It's a little hop. Well, you're not going to taste the hops necessarily, but it is quite a hoppy beer just to balance out the amount of sugar and body that's left in there. Most of the time when people think of Russian Imperial Stout, one of the first things they think about is alcohol. These are very alcoholic compared to many other styles of beer. If you're going to see a beer out there that's 10, 12, 15%, there's a good chance it's a Russian Imperial Stout.
And we're sitting at 10 on ours.
We're sitting at 10 on this particular one, yeah. And so this is actually our third type of Imperial Stout that we've done here at the Brew Hall. First one being Voices in My Head, which was kind of about a year and a half ago we came out with that, 2 years ago. Obviously, a lot of you have seen the Herd of Turtles, and in fact, in about 2 weeks, I'm getting ready to make that one again. Beer that we've partnered with our neighbor Turtles to kind of develop and market. And then this is a new one that very much has a very similar base to that Herd of Turtles, but has a completely different direction in terms of the flavors that we're going to be tasting in it.
So one thing I just learned is that we probably should draw out the fact that even though we're calling this a Russian Imperial Stout, it's not about where it's from, it's about where it was being sent.
It was being sent, yes.
Yeah, very much a British beer.
Very much a British beer going to, yeah.
Perfect. So one of the other words we threw in there was latte, and that's an easy one to talk about.
Yes.
Because it's lactose, sugar.
Lactose, sugar, and coffee.
Dairy sugar.
Dairy sugar, yep. In fact, we actually had someone come in today just to make sure that is lactose vegan. It is not. It is derived from dairy, and so yeah. So it's if we want to talk about partnerships, just like we did with Bravis earlier. I mean, this beer is just full of partnerships. We've got coconut in it that we've toasted at our neighbors over here at Turtles. We have coffee from Driven Roasters up in Chaska in here. Always my favorite place to use coffee. Yeah, so I mean, this has got the Driven coffee, cold press in it. It's got all this grain came from down the street here at BSG. I just gotta throw that in.
Yeah.
So we've got lactose in there. We've got a little bit of vanilla. We've got a lot of it. Of vanilla. We've got the coconut. We've got some chocolate in there. There's a little bit of a flavor for everyone in this thing. So
awesome. This is available for off sale, obviously because we can't have anything on tap right now.
Yes.
Available in these bombers with these handsome new labels. So you can find these 750 milliliter bottles down here at the brew hall. We are on the edge of putting some more of this beer in some 22-ounce bottles that'll be in some liquor stores.
Yep.
In the next couple weeks or so. So you can look for it around there. If you've got a liquor store that you go to who knows that loves to pull in some of the specialty stuff, this would be a great opportunity for you to reach out to them and say, hey, I heard Shakopee Brew Hall has got a Russian Imperial that they're running a limited edition on, which is what this is. We've just got 100 of these bombers, and I know that 3 cases have gone out the door so far.
Yeah.
So they're down to about 4 cases left. Is all that's left.
It was a busy day for being shut down and not being able to pour you a pint. So, yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So come in and get a bottle of this, or perhaps look for it in a liquor store near you. That will kind of help that out. I'm gonna take a little break between beers to talk about some other things down here at the brew hall. And while Ryan, hopefully, there he moves quickly across the floor to serve up some beer. But I brought up infusions earlier. These make great gift ideas. If you've got I don't know, for the lack of a better word, beer snob in the house or a beer aficionado in the house, you want to try something new and different, or give them something new and different that you know they'll never have had before.
Yes.
Our weekend infusions are really where it's at. We've got, well, the wassail just sold out today, so
yes.
That's gone. But we have cans of the Michelada. We've got cans of the peppermint hard-headed dreamers still in the cooler.
A few left.
Yep. This weekend, we're going to be looking forward to a return of the mulled cider.
The harvest mulled cider.
Harvest mulled cider,
yep.
Which uses duck or goza as its base.
As its base, yes.
And then
without the fruit, so it is just the base bones goza. There is no fruit addition to this.
And that was a big hit. So I would, if you loved it and or missed out on it last time, you're going to get another go. The good news is that because we're not open, we're not serving it on tap, so we're putting it all in cans. So I'm going to forecast between 60 and 70 of these cans will be made available.
Sounds about right.
That's about what we're doing. So if you're interested in that harvest mulled cider, which has some fantastically, unique ingredients in it. So I saw you put this together today, so I'm not going to give away too much. I'm just going to say that that's out there. So gift ideas, infusions, these bombers, swag. I've got a couple shirts. A shirt, one thing, one fell. We've got the Ryan's beanies here. I just threw one up there for you. And gift cards. Honestly, and this is a little bit self-serving perhaps, but in the interest of transparency, right now, if you've got a favorite business or businesses that are maybe struggling right now, gift cards are a great way to go because of the nature of gift cards. It's kind of like a short-term loan, to be honest with you. And so, it's something that somebody can come and redeem in the future. It's good stuff. So, I want to point out gift cards and memberships. Memberships make a great gift as well. We've got annual and lifetime. I don't know if anybody's going to give a lifetime membership as a gift, but an annual membership.
Very generous.
That'd be extremely generous. An annual membership, $149. What that gets someone is some sneak peeks on beers, the $1 off pints when the brew hall's open, things like that. A little discount on the merch, and it might make a great gift. So if you're buying gift cards or memberships, there's some things in for you. If you get a $25 gift card or greater, you can walk away with essentially a pint of beer. We have some 16-ounce cans we've got stashed behind the bar. We can't sell those here, but we can give you one. So leave with one of those, limited supply, and it's
Yes.
kind of what we have, so take that for what it is. But we can leave a $25 gift card and a pint of beer in a can. If you do a membership, we're happy to send you with your own bottle of German chocolate latte Russian Imperial Stout.
Yes.
It's a lot. But there it is. So some gift ideas for you as you think about the brew hall and all those things. I'm going to pop in with a question Mike has. Do the bombers have a longer shelf life than crowlers, like for gifts?
They should, although the crawlers are good as well. I mean, both the bomber and the crawler, because of the nature of how they're sealed, should last you several months, if not longer. I mean, because of what is in here, we're talking a high alcohol beer, a dark beer. It is going to age and it's going to sit on the shelf, for a year or more if you really want it. If you have the willpower not to drink it. This beer can sit, in your cellar for a while. A crawler, is like any can of beer. Depending on what's inside of it, it might not last quite as long. But it's definitely going to make it several months.
I'll pop in with, it's an opportunity for me to talk a little bit about the canning process.
Yeah, sure.
And so one of the great enemies of beer, packaged beer, is oxygen, because it oxidizes the beer. And so what we work really hard to do is make sure that there's no oxygen in any of our packaging. And the way we do that is that we backfill the bombers with CO2 before we fill it. So quite literally, I put a wand in the bottle, open a CO2 valve, floods the bottle, and then as the beer fills that bottle, it pushes anything else out.
Right, and remember, CO2 is heavier than air, and so it will stay in that bomber and kind of act as a hat, kind of barrier as it would itself.
Our crawlers are filled to the point where when we pop the cap on and seal it, there's literally no space left in there for oxygen to be. And then our canning machine that we use for our 16-ounce cans actually has a CO2 hose hooked to it, and layers in CO2 1, 2, 3 different ways as it makes its way through the machine. And so we're assured a pretty healthy low O2 level on our beers.
Correct,
so
yes.
It's pretty fun technology on that. All right, beer number 2?
Let's do it.
Beer number 2. So we're given this, it's a name called Big Fella.
Previously doing business as
DBA, a different Imperial Lager.
Yes.
We're going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
But so this has actually made an appearance here. We're just giving it a different name to make sure people know what it is.
Yeah.
Compared to the name it was. So
because we wanted to shorten everything down because the German latte.
you have to balance that out somehow, right? So speaking of which, this is a completely different beer than what we've been sipping on.
Yes.
So lagers we can generalize as a beer that's fermented and finished at a low temperature. The yeast acts differently. It's a different yeast and all those things.
Yeah, I mean the easiest way to really think of a lager is that it is a type of beer that it is fermented with a type of yeast that does better at a lower temperature. Because it's a lower temperature, it's not as active. Even though it's doing its job and it's eating the sugar available, making the alcohol, it does it slower. So the process is a little bit more refined, if you want to think of it that way. You don't have as many of what are called esters produced, so you don't have all that fruitiness that we often associate with ales. It's much cleaner. If you really want to dive down into the science, there's actually there's a gene in in most lager yeast that can eat an additional type of sugar that ale yeast typically can't do, and so there's usually a little bit cleaner, less body to a lager. Not always, depends on the style, but a lot of the time, that clean or cleanliness concept is often thrown around with lagers because it is usually a thinner bodied beer when it's all said and done. And then the lagering process is often implemented as well. Lagering being a extended cold period of time for it to condition. And so all of that kind of is thrown together to make this broad category of lagers. That includes things like Pilsners and American light lagers and Dortmunders, which we might talk about in a minute here, and all these different types of lagers. So it is one of the two big styles of beer.
Ales being the other.
Ales being
so
the other, yeah.
let's focus in on what we have in front of us. There isn't, some people might say, oh, a lager, and not think of hops. But
Sure.
that would be a mistake with this beer, because I get a fair amount.
Oh, yeah.
It's not overwhelming, but tell us what we have on our hop list on this beer.
So this is, very much in the West Coast style of brewing, and so this has, much of the same hops that, 10, 15 years ago you would have thought was old hat standard in most lagers. I mean, you're going to have Centennial and Cascade, just because it is like my de facto hop. The one hop that's maybe a little bit different is Azacca. I love Azacca. It's one of my favorite hops. I use it in almost everything that is supposed to be hoppy. This particular one has also been bittered with a type of hop from Poland called Magnet. But at its core, it's Centennial and Cascade.
So those are standard, like run-of-the-mill
Correct.
hops.
Yeah.
And they just must be and we've talked about balance in the past, but this is a higher alcohol beer.
This is.
So the hops are a little more elevated to
Yeah.
help that out.
Yeah, and so just a reminder, like when we think about balance in beer, the three kind of broad categories are maltiness or body, the alcohol, and the bitterness. And in those three, depending on how you want that beer to come out, obviously the grain that goes into it gives it the flavor and the water profile and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of just overall what we consider balance, those three things are the main ones that we talk about. And so, if you have a lot of alcohol, this particular one has 9% alcohol.
Hence the big fella.
Hence the big fella.
Mm-hmm.
Have we said that that's the name of this beer?
It's going on labels on cans, so.
It's big fella. Because it's 9%, one, it's a heavier beer, it's a bigger bodied beer, because more grain went into it to produce that much alcohol, and just because not all sugars that are derived from grain are instantaneously fermentable, more is left behind, therefore it's a bigger bodied beer. But we don't want it to be cloying, we don't want it to be super sweet, even though it's alcoholic, and that's good, and that helps with the sweetness. We don't want it too sweet, and so we want that bitterness to help, again, balance that overall beer.
So I get a pretty light mouthfeel, so that's the lager part.
That's the lager part.
And from a malty perspective, it's not like a bock or anything like that. It's not super duper sweet. I just catch a hint of what a person might expect from an IPA in its hoppiness.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just elevated everything up a little bit from a light beer.
Yeah.
Or a little more than just a little bit, but it's still a lager.
And using the IPA title kind of helps you kind of get into what this beer is, because very much this beer was a attempt at doing a IPA, double IPA style of beer, but with that lager strain, just to play around with it. At a past brewery that I worked with, really liked this concept of a double Imperial lager. And so, this is kind of that take.
Awesome. So 2 beers that we've tasted tonight. One is the Russian Imperial Stout, and the other one is our Imperial Lager. A couple of Imperial options, right? So
It's cold out there. It needs some heavier body.
yeah, right. Tis the season. So let's talk a little bit about some returnee beers. I just want to shout out that Mr. Brightside is back.
Yes.
You can pick that up in off sale. Magic Feather, which is almost always on, is here, but I'm going to be honest with you, we've been selling it for a minute. Yeah, there's not a ton left, so it's in the cooler right now. There's plenty in liquor stores because
There is
pushing it out there.
Yes.
And of course, that mulled cider that I mentioned earlier will be here this weekend. I want to just take a couple minutes to talk about upcoming beers. I took a stare at the brewing schedule calendar, and one that's coming up is a barrel-aged release that will also be in bombers, by the way, is a duck based beer that is Chardonnay barrel aged.
Yes.
So what do we hope to, and I haven't tasted it, so what do we hope to gather from this?
So one of the next barrel aged beer that we're releasing is a a Kendall Jackson Chardonnay aged Duck Duck. And for those of you who have kind of followed the Duck Duck that we've released, it's usually always a different fruit each time. And a couple variations back, we had a mango pineapple version. And what's kind of interesting about that particular beer is that it is maybe the only time I can think of right now where I brewed a beer with the barrel in mind, as opposed to vice versa. You know, we go through several different barrel brokers, depending on the time of year and availability and all that kind of stuff. And you know, a lot of the time you'll see some beers that are aged in, well, obviously, bourbon barrels, whiskey barrels, Scotch barrels, spiced rum barrels. Those are pretty easy to find. But there's a lot of wine barrels out there as well. And so you'll see like Cabernet Sauvignon barrel used. You'll see some like Sauvignon Blanc used. But Chardonnay is certainly also one that's available out there pretty easily. And so because we got this Chardonnay barrel, just because Chardonnay kind of has flavors that work well with lighter beers, it was something that I thought would be kind of fun. So when we got the barrel in, there was no beer already made for it. So one of the fun things that we get to do every now and then is we see where that barrel came from. We try to go find something that was in that, potentially, in that barrel. And then from there, we decide what might work with it. And because, you know, I had found a Kendall Jackson, it was an oaked, obviously, an oak barrel, oaked Chardonnay, kind of got the characteristics of mango and pineapple and out of those Chardonnays, and so, well, perfect. Mango's easy, pineapple's easy, and, you know, it was, when we went into the barrel, it was still a little bit warmer out than this, at least, and so they, you know, not only did it sell pretty well on the tap here, but I thought it would be perfect for that barrel, and so we'll get to try that out for about New Year's.
Awesome,
It'll be fun.
awesome. So I know that we're going to be looking at bottling that next week, so to make it available the week after. So that'll be on the doorstep. Let's talk about a little small batch beer.
Yeah.
We're calling it Hempress.
We are calling it Hemp.
And
Imperial, for good reason. Imperial, yeah.
Imperial.
For good reason.
So let's first, the base beer for this is
This guy right here.
This guy right here.
The big
The addition to it is.
So the addition to it is our first attempt to, you don't see this that often, although there's a few out there, our first attempt at a CBD or hemp beer. And so we've got a friend out there that has access to a farm for hemp, and he said, well, what the heck, let's see if we can use it. So the strain that he brought us is called Hempress. It kind of aged on this big fella, and the reason that we did the big fella is we wanted a little bit more alcohol to extract out the oils. We were actually initially thinking we were going to pair it with the Loki, but it's just not a big enough beer, just not enough alcohol. And so it's carving up right now, and you'll get your first taste at it. It smells really good. It kind of has a little bit of a mint characteristic to me. I was kind of hoping for the other strain that he had, but just because I like the name of it better. But this Hempress is going to be really fun to use, and so that's going to be in crawlers as well, just like
An infusion release.
An infusion release. So just like with that malt cider, it's going to be released. There's only going to be about 60 of them available, and so come on down and
Check it out.
Check it out. If you've never tried a hemp beer before, this is a good chance to get a glass of it.
Try it out. So it's starting to become a thing in microbreweries and
Yes.
tap rooms. So
Yes.
just seeing what it's going to be about for us. I'm going to say these words. We're not going to talk about it today, but there's a Dortmunder in process.
Yes.
For a future show, we'll talk about that. I want to say that if you're a fan of Fine Whatever, there's another batch scheduled. So
Yes.
that'll be in a few weeks. And then something
It's fermented out. It just needs to be dropped and moved and all that boring stuff that goes on behind the screen.
Here takes time, people. Here takes time. And then something we're excited about here, something we've never done.
Yeah, not here.
Is an actual honest to goodness Pilsner. So I know I'm looking forward to this. I like those clean malty beers. That's what I love.
And the thing is that might not seem like that big of a deal. Pilsners are not that hard to find necessarily.
They're everywhere.
But the problem is that we do not have the right water for it down here.
If you live in Shakopee like I do,
yes,
your water softener does probably triple duty, just keeping up with that. And likewise, it does here too. And I guess I'll just boil it down a little bit. Your water quality, hardness, has a lot to do with your mouthfeel.
Oh, absolutely.
And Pilsners, by definition of where they come from and where the water comes from, they need to have soft water.
It originally was a soft water beer, and so if you do a lot of beer tourism, it's a wide spectrum. You'll get Pilsners that have full mouthfeel, you'll have dry ones, but it's always fun to kind of look towards that predecessor, that grandfather beer, because there must have been something right about it that people like it so much. So the water in Pilsen, Czech Republic, is much softer than what we have here. I mean, here we have unsoftened, it's like 300 parts per million of hardness, and it's great for Dortmunder. We can talk about that, when that comes up. But it's just not good for Pilsner style beers, and so I've been really hesitant about pulling the trigger on trying it. But because we had an open spot in one of our brew weeks, and it was just kind of like, well, let's
go for it.
And in fact, I'm going to throw out a shout out here to Todd at Triton Chemical. He helped me figure out some hardness issues and some scaling issues on some of our equipment that I had to get rid of before I could commit to this beer, and so he really helped me figure that one out. And
we got it worked out, and so that's sitting in a fermenter right now. It's just finishing off in there. We're gonna move it tomorrow. I think
it's gonna move tomorrow, and then that prolonged lagering process. In like an ideal world, it would probably lager for a couple of months, but we're gonna give it at least a couple of weeks.
And it just needs to sit in the corner and think about what it's done.
Exactly.
For a little while, and then we'll be in good shape. So look forward to those various beers coming up soon. I have a quick question from Teresa. Is the tent going to make a comeback? It will not be making a comeback this winter. And then next late spring, summer, we hope so. There have been not any external conversations about that I'm aware of anyway, and so we all hope it does. It was a pretty awesome success for all of us downtown. So stay tuned on that one, Teresa. That's what I'm going to say. We'll figure it out from there. We're just going to wrap it up here in the next minute and a half, I think. Just to review, we've talked about our German chocolate cake, latte Russian Imperial Stout. So much. And then an Imperial Lager. Go to our website, shakopeebrewhall.com, to read a little bit more and see what's available from us on off sale. On that, you visit that website to place an online order. We monitor the email down here while we're here during the day. If you want to have some beer to go and would rather pick it out on your own and have it waiting for you here, we're happy to do that. Just go to the website. You can pre-order some gift cards that way as well. Think of great gift ideas for the special people in your life, whether it be beer swag, or other items from down here at the Brew Hall. I want to just a quick shout out to these 16-ounce handmade ceramic mugs. They make a great Brew Hall gift. Give that in a gift card and or a growler, and you'd have a great little package to go there. ShakopeeBrewhall.com, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure you shop local, ladies and gentlemen. It means everything to everybody downtown here and a lot of little places in the country right now.
Yes.
Shop local, shop local. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us for another Beers with Ben. That's Ben.
And real quick, we'll see you next year.
Yes.
We're going to take the week of maybe between Christmas and New Year's off, so we'll see you in the new year.
In January. Awesome. So Ben, Sean, stop in and see us. Thanks very much.
Cheers, everybody.
I'm going to have a little more of this. It's good.
It's very good.